This is the Ambient Weather WS70 hygrometer. Now, included with this device are the instructions, the outdoor transmitter, and of course you've got the display here. 4 AAA batteries are required for this main unit here. 2 AAA batteries are required for the transmitter, but they're not included. And oddly enough, and again, I don't know if this was with just my specific box, but there was no mounting screws for the transmitter included with this. So don't know if that was an oversight just for my particular box or what exactly, but so you do have to have some screws to hang up this little transmitter. This is more of a desk type size device, although it does have a slot, I'll show you on the back there, for hanging. But it may be small, too small for most walls, as it's about 4 by 5 inches in size. Although the majority of that is in the display with about a 4 by 3.25 inch size display on it. Setup is pretty easy with this. You just have to make sure that you install the batteries in the back of the transmitter, which you're going to have to unscrew because this requires 2. And if you're using more than one transmitter, and I'll get into that, you also have to make some adjustments in the back. You have to put in the batteries in this first and then install the batteries into this, and it should quickly come up with the temperature and humidity for the transmitter, although I had to put batteries in, take the batteries out, put the batteries back in a second time before it did that, but once I did that the second time, it quickly did it with no issues. The display itself, when you first put the batteries in, it'll indicate it's looking for a signal, and then of course the information will pop up once it's ready to go. Now, as I said, this device has the capability of adding additional wireless transmitters up to 8, I believe, if you want. And to add a transmitter, and I don't have the display off on the back of this transmitter off, but in the back of this transmitter there's 4 dip switches in here, and to add transmitter or to have a transmitter on a different channel other than the default of 1, you have to, flip those different switches in different directions. You also have to do this to change from Celsius to Fahrenheit. For me personally, I think that's a bit more complicated than it needs to be with the switches. Again, instead of multiple dip switches for different things, why not a simple switch that says 1 to 8 and a Celsius Fahrenheit switch? I just think that's simpler for the end user like me to use, other than trying to have to refer to the instructions to figure out what channel I have this transmitter on. So with that, it's a little bit of hassle, especially if you're going to add, different transmitters or switch from Celsius to Fahrenheit. Now the transmitter itself I have here has a little small display on it that shows the temperature and humidity, wherever you place this, which this will be outside, in the channel that it's on. There's also a little small red LED that flashes indicating it's transmitting the signal. And as you can see, this particular display, it's easy to read, it's clear, with a nice display of both the inside humidity and temperature and the outside humidity and temperature. It also displays the channel that it's on. But on the front of this, there's 3 buttons. What you see, a minimum, maximum, that allows you to hit the display and show the minimum and maximum temperatures that it's recorded for that particular day. There's also a channel button for changing the channel of the whatever, if you have multiple transmitters. And then, of course, the clear button, which is also listed as an adjust button, which basically allows you to calibrate or adjust the humidity and the temperature if it's a little bit off. But it's a nice clear display. There's no backlight with this or reflective display for night viewing, so that's a little bit of a negative for the display. But it's a nice display overall. There's a flip-out stand, as you can see, is perfect for a desk and that kind of thing, which is what I think this is best suited for. There's no power plug port, which I kind of would like to see, especially since this is kind of designed for a desk. It would have been nice to have a power plug. That way you don't use up batteries on this. But the temperature and humidity for this appears to be fairly accurate, within about a degree and 1 to 2% humidity, and fairly consistent to several other weather stations I have here and thermometers I have here. So it's within that range that I consider tolerable in terms of its accuracy. I think this is a nice device. It has an easy to read display. Again, the whole way of setting up additional transmitters is a little bit more complicated than I think it really needs to be. I would like to see a power port for plugging into the wall and the ability to turn on a backlight. But for the price, I think this is a nice little device, and I give it 4 stars. This is the Ambient Weather WS70 hygrometer. Now, included with this device are the instructions, the outdoor transmitter, and of course you've got the display here. 4 AAA batteries are required for this main unit here. 2 AAA batteries are required for the transmitter, but they're not included. And oddly enough, and again, I don't know if this was with just my specific box, but there was no mounting screws for the transmitter included with this. So, don't know if that was